Eric Clapton. You won't believe what happened next. Two best friends, both guitar legends, fell for the same woman, yet somehow kept a bond that outlived fame, heartbreak, and even death. And at 80 years old, Eric Clapton finally laid it all out. What truly happened between him and George Harrison. Born the 30th of March 1945 in Ripley, Surrey, Eric Clapton grew up in a tangled family story, raised thinking his grandparents were his parents and his mother was his sister. That confusion carved a quiet ache into him, and you can hear it in the way he plays. Notes that sound like questions, bends that feel like memories. As a kid, he obsessed over old blues records, Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, trying to decode the mystery inside those voices and guitars. By the early 60 seconds, he was out front with the Yardbirds, but the band started drifting toward pop polish, and Eric Clapton hated that. He bailed in 1965 to chase the truer, dirtier thing he loved. With John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers, he honed a tone that felt like steel catching fire, picking up the slow hand nickname along the way. Then, 1966, hit and boom, Cream. Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, and Eric Clapton rewired rock with heavy blues, long solos, and fearless improvisation. It burned bright and burned fast. 2 years later, they were done. But the template for the guitar hero had been stamped in concrete. Still restless, he formed Blind Faith with Steve Winwood, Ginger Baker, and Rick Greck. One album, one summer, and gone. He drifted into collaborations Delaney and Bonnie, studio sessions, and then a new band with a sly name, Derek and the Dominos. Out of that storm came a song that would haunt him forever, Layla. It wasn't just a riff, it was a confession. He'd fallen in love with Pattie Boyd, who happened to be married to his close friend, George Harrison. Imagine living inside that chord progression night after night, while the person you loved was just out of reach. Let's pause, because this is where the myth usually blurs. Was there rivalry? Was there bitterness? At 80, Eric Clapton says the quiet part out loud. Yes, there was an unspoken competition, but there was also a brotherhood. George Harrison invited him into sacred spaces, those late-night jams, the shared ideas, even a historic Beatles session where Eric Clapton added the aching lead to While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Who does? That invites another guitar great onto his own band's record and then stays friends when love tangles everything. George Harrison did. Meanwhile, life off stage was messier. The 70 seconds swallowed Eric Clapton for a stretch, first heroin, then alcohol. The man who could peel lightning from strings was losing his grip, but in the early 80 seconds, he chose the hard road to sobriety. Not glamorous, not fast, just grit and time. He kept making music, stretching beyond blues into pop and reggae flavors. Remember his luminous cover of I Shot the Sheriff? And forging partnerships with giants like Bob Dylan, J.J., Cale, and B.B. King. And then, the worst thing a parent can face. In 1991, his 4-year-old son, Connor, died in a tragic accident. There are no words for that. Eric Clapton did the only thing he knew. He wrote through the grief. Tears in Heaven isn't just a song. It's a quiet prayer from a broken father. It healed people who needed healing, including him. Back to the triangle that wasn't just a triangle. Pattie Boyd and George Harrison separated and later divorced in 1977. In 1979, Eric Clapton and Pattie Boyd married. You'd think that would shatter any friendship left, right? Here's the part that still stuns. George Harrison chose grace. He kept showing up. He and Eric Clapton played together, laughed together, lived like men who understood that music can hold what words can't. It wasn't perfect, nothing human is. But forgiveness turned what could have been a tabloid disaster into a rare story of mercy. Marriage didn't save everything, Eric Clapton strayed, fathered Connor with Laurie Del Santo, and his marriage to Pattie Boyd ended in 1989. Later, he met Melia McEnery in 1998. Their 2002 wedding in the small church back in Ripley felt like a circle closing. 3 daughters, steady love, and a calmer rhythm after decades of turbulence. So what's the truth he finally admits about George Harrison? It's not some scandal, it's simpler and deeper. Eric Clapton calls him a brother. Says there was always that edge of competition, sure, but never cruelty. He talks about George Harrison's gentleness, the way he kept a kind of light about him. When George Harrison grew ill, Eric Clapton visited, not needing to say much. And after George Harrison passed in 2001, Eric Clapton did the thing his friend would have loved most. He organized the Concert for George, a celebration that sounded like goodbye and thank you at the same time. Listen to how he frames it now, at 80. It's not about who played faster or who wrote the bigger hit. It's about making something beautiful together. It's about being forgiven when you mess up. It's about choosing friendship over pride. That's the truth. Not glossy, not gossipy, just human. And the music? That's the thread through every scene. From the boy in Ripley tracing the ghosts of Delta blues, to the Yardbirds rebel who walked away from easy hits, to the Cream firebrand reinventing what a trio could do. From Derek and the Dominos tearing open Layla, to the clean-lined elegance of later records, to the loping, lived-in grooves with J.J. Cale. Even the detours quitting cigarettes years after giving up alcohol, falling down and getting back up again, each step shows you the same stubborn heartbeat. Keep going. Now, what does this all mean for us? The people listening with headphones on a morning commute or half asleep on a Sunday night? Maybe it's this. Greatness isn't just skill. It's what, if you do when life comes at you sideways, it's how you treat the people around you, even when your heart's a tangle. It's learning to turn pain into something that helps other people breathe for a minute longer. Eric Clapton's story, his early confusion, his rise, his falls, his losses, his late peace, proves that music can outlast scandal, and kindness can outshine competition. And at the center of it all is that friendship with George Harrison. Not perfect, not simple, but real enough to withstand love, jealousy, fame, and time. Real enough that, at 80, when Eric Clapton talks about him, you can hear the gratitude more than the guilt. That's the truth he's telling now. He misses his friend, he learned from him, and he kept the promise they both lived by: make something beautiful. If this journey hit you in the gut, even a little, do me a favor. Drop a like, so more people stumble onto stories that aren't just noise. Tell me in the comments, which song, Layla, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Tears in Heaven, or another deep cut lands the hardest for you, and why. And if you want more true stories told like you're right there in the room, subscribe and stick around. We've got a lot more music to listen to and a lot more truth to tell.